So it's the next morning, and I already started ahead because the camera was, the chip was downloading the last video you just saw. One thing I didn't like is if I had to do it all over again, I would have added where the 2-inch angle is on the bottom. I would have put another stringer, I guess you want to call it, across the bottom like I did the top to kind of help it beefing up. So I did the next best thing, and I just kind of sliced in a bunch of them and welded those in just to make that beam stronger where it meets the body, and it also gives some place for the metal to attach to. There's really nothing as far as the screws for the tin on the outside to match to, and nothing for the plywood on the inside to take care of. But that's all taken care of now because I welded that in. So getting to the point where it's paint, and I also want to go see how the door opens. So let's go see how the door opens. Are you in? You're in. Because I have to wire wheel it and paint it. Keep it from rusting too bad. Let's see what it's got the spring-loaded thing on it. It's got a big mouse trap. You know, if I step off this thing, I'll take my jaw. It looks pretty good. I don't see it like one hinge is complaining a little bit, but they are dry also still. So that'll should work. Now I'm gonna go run around. Should probably put vice grips on that cable to hold it so it's out. Run around it with a wire wheel and put some paint on it. Voila. That should work. The handle's got to get straightened out. That should work. What they say, you figure out what something's going to take you to do, and then double it, twice as much and twice as long. And of those 3 24-foot sticks, this is what I have left, which is probably a 16-foot piece and a 4-inch piece laying on the floor there. So that'll probably get used up still in shelving and framing. Paint. This is what I got laying around, so this is what we're going to use. We're going to use oil-based smoke gray. I went and grabbed a couple little rollers, and we're going to use that setup. Doesn't have to be fancy, just has to be covered. And I figured the gray kind of goes with, I guess, the gray of the maybe the roof. That's more black. Who cares? So the trailer's all painted up and moved out of the way. It's kind of cooking in the heat out there. It's like 85, 90. Tacking up pretty good, so hopefully I won't have to wait as long as I thought I did to put the siding, to side it up, put it all back together. And I picked up the siding. Mind the mower noise in the background. 18 gauge. It's $53 a sheet. It's pretty. Prettier than the beat up stuff that was on there. Well, so I punch a bunch of holes in it. I had to paint it. I blind the guy behind me. And my Tundra needs to get ready for a sticker. So while I was waiting for that, I figured I'd pull the truck in and throw a muffler on her. Stinking muffler. 2 years old. Go back to China where you belong. Piece of I'm over at the warehouse. I'm doing a little car trade-off between Lucy and the convertible. Is going to stay here for a little bit because I got a 2 VW shows to go to over the weekend. But while I was here, I figured we'll go take a look at the welded generator. I'm kind of getting an idea what size it is and how much room I'm going to need in the trailer, just to start giving myself a little heads up. So, lucky there was a tape measure over there. Of course, it's not going to cooperate one-handed now, is it? All right. So I would say the total engine package is 41. You're going to need room for the intake of the fan. I'm going to take it off the tires and have it sit on the frame. So we're going to call it 41 by 36 to the top of the gas cap. And nothing says I can't relocate that gas cap. And of course this frame is going to come off. I guess we'll go by the bottom frame. And that we're going to call it 19. So 19 by 36 by 41 is the smallest package we can kind of knock it down to. And if I leave it on the wheels, we'll guesstimate that is roughly 28. So if I leave it so that it can roll out from underneath the thing, not that this thing rolls around all that easy. Battery's not going to be on there anyway because it's going to use the house battery to start it. Yeah, so that's not too bad. The exhaust, I want to vent probably straight up. I wonder if I could take that muffler off and flip it around. I don't see why not. So you can just take that so that the pipe will actually be sticking out this way, and I can kind of go up with it, or out the side of the trailer. Just a little education for myself. Because the start buttons are right here, and I want to put that on my don't know, I gotta think about that. It might be better if it faces this direction. When I open that when I drop the ramp, this is going to be right here, so if I make a door that opens up, I could kind of fire everything right from there and adjust the dials and all. We'll see. Yeah, let me go see if I can go get let's go do a Lucy cold start. Key should be in it somewhere. I don't remember what I did with them. Hey, let me shut you off till I find the key. Alright, I got keys. Let's see if the battery's any good. I think it's been here about a month, I want to say. Since the last time I brought it home in the rain, I kind of went through it. It's alive. The muffler sounds horrible. I gotta change the muffler out in this thing. Let's pull it forward a little bit. I got a jumper pack inside the convertible. Let's bring this outside and let it run. I want to kill all the mice. Dirty too. Need a bath. Do you think you'd notice if I just swapped trailers on them? I guess that's what it's supposed to look like when it's all pretty and new. Oh my. Wrapping up on a VW show here, guys. Just want to show you something. This is my old 67 Bug. I sold it about 12 years ago. It finally showed up. I did that with the Kubota bucket. A cloth interior. So my shopping spree kind of started showing up, and that's some of the LED lights in rolls. I'll show you that in a minute. And two skylights showed up, which are just they got a small fan in them, and I went with the smoke top. And over here, I believe I have the lighting still set up. Should be on the jumper pack. Let's make sure our hot and colds aren't touching. Check that out. How cool are they, huh? You can cut them to length. You could solder on the ends of them if you want, but I think I'll be able to use them in full capacity. And when you do that, it comes with two little wires to hook power into. But for right now, weather's pretty nice. It's not sticky, humid, and windy and all. I figure it could be a good time to get some of this aluminum up on the back of the trailer and at least get it closed in so it's secure, so to speak. So I measured it out. I got a piece of angle on the bottom clamped to it. I was trying to figure out how to go do it, but I figured that'd probably be my best bet, is just to clamp some angle onto it. I could set it right on it and probably just kind of fine tweak it and run a couple of screws in it. Once I get a few screws, and I'll be able to take that off and more than likely shift it over to this side, and we'll hang the second sheet. 48 inches comes to roughly right about here, maybe a little bit past that, so the two middle ones are going to overlap each other and give a little bit of a shielding capacity. And that green line is our cut line, so keep the sun out of your eyes. That's where we need to go slice it. And aluminum is pretty soft. You can pretty much cut aluminum with anything you cut with wood. You can use it for cutting aluminum. So I am going to go try a little skill saw first. I might even just try off on the side before I jump in the middle. But I should probably use a finer tooth blade, but it's what I have for this little guy. So we're going to go see how that wants to play. And I can kind of clean it up with a file afterwards. But it's the thicker than what was on there. I want to say what was on there is probably 22 gauge, 24 gauge. This is 18 gauge. And it kind of wants to maintain its shape a little better. Should help in the strength of the gate as far as racking. So does the plywood, and keep wrinkles down to a minimum. It won't flex and wobble like you see on the body right there. Let me get set up. Let me see if I can do some slicing and get that sucker hung on there. Hold your ears. Like I said, a blade that was a little less aggressive probably would have been better. It cuts pretty good. You just want to make sure that it gets up to speed before you shove it in there. I also forgot to put some tape on the body of the saw before I started, but we're not making countertops, are we? We got that hung up there, set it on the little lip like I talked about, and ran tape around the borders so I know where all my screw points are. Then I just took some chalk and kind of drew on it where I wanted the screws to intersect. So I'm roughly going to be 10 inches apart from top to bottom, and whatever the studs are, 14.5 or so apart. I got one in there. There's going to be another seam that overlaps this. So this row will not get done. That's just to hold it for now. It's got to come back out. And I started using these little black suckers, and as you can see, I put a little dent next to it when it locked up and slipped, and then I put a little dent next to it. So I decided to bail on those, and we're going to go with ones that have a socket head on the top of it. So I can use the driver with the bit on it, and it should allow me not to slide off it as bad. So we're gonna go give that a shot and see if you can make a fairly neat pattern on the back of this and get this screwed on, and we'll get the other sheet hung on next to it. How's that? Those lines should erase off of there. That looks good. I'll leave it like it is. Nobody will high beam me, that's for sure. Like blinded from the reflection. So I'm not sure if I want to paint it or not, or we'll just let it dull out over time. We'll see. I got to run around it with some sealer on the edges. The other one had like a piece of molding that they tucked on it, but the edge was so sharp that I think they had to do something. But this is not going to hurt your hands running over it. So yeah, I think I just run some sealant around the two sides and across the top. Leave the bottom open for it to, anything that does get in there could just kind of drain out. You know, like the screws aren't really, they're sealed. I don't expect much to get behind them, but there's a chance that something can get behind. And this guy overlaps by about that far in there. And I may run a little bead of sealing down there. But it looks like that gap is pretty good. Maybe not. Plus, you don't know, after it gets beat up a little bit, it's probably going to move around a little. I'd say that's definitely a lot flatter than what it was, huh? So I guess the next step now is to take from the inside with a drill bit, and where the frames are for the taillights, I'll punch from the inside 4 holes, and then I'll cut that section out on both sides. And then we also have to do the same with I think the license plate mount just kind of mounts flush. I don't think you have to punch a hole through it, except for where the light strip comes through for the plug. I'll get started on those, and then the last piece is going to be some wood blocking that goes behind it, and the brackets for these have to get attached. And I was trying to figure out how they put it together. I didn't know if they put the wood on first, they put the metal on first. It's kind of a mix between the two of them, you know, so it may be a little artistic how I end up mounting that to the back side of this before the wood goes on there. So I figured I'd turn the camera on when I'm cutting a hole. I warn you now, it's probably going to be very loud. I'm wearing this. Using a cutting off wheel, not the best. Aluminum does not like to be hit with a grinder or sand or sandpaper. It has a tendency to gall up the pad, whatever you're using. But with a cutting wheel, if you kind of make a line and kind of work it back and forth, it'll do pretty good. Best thing is probably a jigsaw, but I'm too lazy to go inside the house and go get it and put a blade on it and cut it out with the jigsaw. So we're just going to go about it this way. And these are the 4 holes that I just drilled from the inside on the corner of the bracket. And then just connect the dots afterwards. see how hot it was getting when it starts popping out like that? That's the metal expanding from the heat. And the sparks that you saw were just the clip in the inside of the metal frame. So I'm going to go over this with a file and just kind of kick the edges a little bit and run the screws in and just pretty much end up with that on the other side. And maybe we'll see if we can lower it down and start figuring out how we're going to do the wiring. Well, it seemed like it flipped down pretty good to a foot off the ground. I got a stool underneath there with a pad on it, so it's not getting all scratched up while I'm trying to do the lights. And this cable is still being, I have a pair of bi-strips on the wind up in there just so it can relax because there's still not enough weight on it. So if I jar that, it still flips up like a mousetrap. Lighting. So the way they had it before is they drilled through the beams. Actually, they used plasma cutter and it kind of blew holes through them and ran across there. I'm trying to come up with another solution other than that, but I don't think we're going to make out very well. The only other thing I was kind of coming up with was if I make the plywood leave a gap, say a ½ inch here, and run the wires down there, and then take a piece of flashing of sorts and come up and over to cover the inside of it. But I have a feeling that that would probably get more beat up and cause more damage in the future than doing what they did. So I don't have to blow holes in it ridiculous like they did. They went with you know, the suckers are about 1 inch in diameter. We only have to run those 2 wires through there. So I would say you know, like a quarter is probably a little too small. Maybe 3/8 or so hole. The hardest ones that is going to be these 2 doubles there and there. I really should have done it without the sheet metal being on there, but I was getting itchy to hang the sheet metal. I figured out a way to do it, so I wanted to tackle it. So I'm paying for it now, but it should be too bad as long as the drill and bit fits in those openings. So let me get set up with that and see how I make out. And it's starting to wind down the day. So I pretty much have it ready for the plywood to go on. Everything is wired. I drilled all those holes, and then I took like a rubber, it's not fuel line, but it's like air line, and split it and slid it over the wiring after the wires were through, and then just stuck a tie wrap on each end of them just to keep them from popping out of there. And on the grounds, I just did a self tapper back to the frame, and then backed it off, hit it with a grinder, took some paint off, threw some grease on them, and whacked them back down again. So before I put the plywood on, I will function test my lights to make sure they work. Might be a good idea, huh? And the sides all set up too. This just has a little bit extra because of the plate light right there. And just leave some service space in them, just so that if you ever need to pull the light out and pull it away, you have room to work on it. And what they did, they put these like little splicers in there, but they used them for stops, so they can't pull through the hole, which I guess is a pretty good idea. Other than the fact that you're piercing the wire, right? So plywood. Where the warehouse is, they're ripping up what the existing structures were and just kind of hollowing out the building. So they have a bunch of plywood and bricks, and not bricks, but cement blocks. The old skins. They're nice and straight, huh? Yeesh. They have plywood that is tongue and groove. And what's good about that is the way they ran it before. They ran like a 48-inch sheet, and then whatever was left of it, like I want to say 24, maybe half a sheet. It's against the wall there. So whatever that is was on the bottom section, and then they ran a full sheet off on top. Well, the thing is, there's nothing to tie those two together. I could have welded steel in going across to kind of bridge it, but the fact that they're tongue and groove and they'll lock together should suffice. The other thing is I could run 2 sheets like that too, but I don't know if I want the brake in the middle like that. That's undecided, and that's for another day. But it's getting pretty good. It's again still moving right along. And once this gate is done, it'll make me feel much better, because it's, you know, probably the most labor-intensive part of the repair of the trailer. Not, you know, making cabinets and all that stuff, but, you know, as far as bringing the trailer back to life, it took the most. So we still got brakes to do, skylights to put in, and, you know, then lighting, and start getting into all that stuff. But I'm gonna try to knock this out tomorrow and have it so that we can start getting into some of the fun stuff pretty soon, you know. So I'm gonna wrap it up here, guys. Again, thanks for everybody for watching, commenting, subscribing, taking a little journey with me, and I'll see you soon. Yeah, I couldn't help myself. I wanted to hook up the lights. We've got most of them. The plug on the 7-way plug is in horrible shape. So this side has a parking and taillight. Back top lights are working. And this side has the parking light, but or taillight rather. But no, whatever you want to call it. Taillight and brake light, we'll call it that. And one's out. So I probed back to the harness where it goes up the wall, and I still have no power there for it. So it's not in the issue of what I'm working with over here. It's probably in the plug in the front. So I can still continue on with sealing up the wall and not having to worry about any other issues I need to kind of get in there. So that part of it buzzed out all right. That one's out because there's a power wire here to there that still needs to be hooked up. I'm probably going to wrap that in harness and lengthen it a little bit. I think it does the 2 bottom ones or the 4 bottom ones. That should be good. All right, now see ya.